Over in the DC Comics universe, the publisher has gone into some fascinating directions thanks to the Lazarus Planet crossover. The Lazarus Planet story sees the DC universe to become ensnared in a mysterious Lazarus resin, causing existing characters in the DC universe to gain new powers. Elsewhere, over in the world of Diana Prince, also known as Wonder Woman, the character recently struck up a deal with the goddess Hera in order to ascend. But little did Wonder Woman know that her deal, which should have saved countless people, ended up jeopardizing her plan. My name is Arico Braddock, and today, let's go ahead and dive deep into Wonder Woman 797 to see the next steps of Lazarus Planet. But before we dive deeper into the video, I want to go ahead and encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button if you enjoy our content. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce Wonder Woman 797 with DC Comics solicitation text for the issue. The Revenge of the Gods continues in this can't-miss tie-in. After Diana's shocking choice to align herself with the gods, her world has changed. Could godhood be the answer to all her problems? Find out as Diana ascends. Plus, don't miss a special Shazam story starring the new champion. And I want to go ahead and introduce DC Comics' creative team on Wonder Woman 797. This issue is actually split into two stories. So we're going to start here by introducing the first creative team, and in the story called The Reckoning. This one is written by Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad, featuring artwork from Amancay Nahuelpan. We have colors over from Tamra Bonvillain and letters from Pat Brosseau. And the issue's cover is illustrated over from Yanick, Paquette and Dave McCaig. Here's a quick look over at the cover for Wonder Woman 797. Big thanks to Adventures in Poor Taste for posting this cover of the issue so incredibly quickly. I've always been a fan of how Yanick Paquette is able to kind of capture Wonder Woman on all these pages, and really appreciate the sort of dynamic cover, striking such an epic pose for the issue. And I want to start things off by taking a look at some of the artwork in Wonder Woman 797 over from Amancay Nahuelpan. I've really enjoyed Nahuelpan's work in the past. As you can see, Nahuelpan puts so many different elements into the page and is just so perfect at composing the page with just sort of like the right panels in the right spots. Nahuelpan's characters are so expressive throughout this tale, and I have to give special regards over to the colors from Tamra Bonvillain. I've noticed that whenever Tamra Bonvillain is kind of lending colors to the story, that the palette feels, so diversified and really kind of enhances the art that, she's delivering, some of the colors for. And I really think that there's all these sort of striking poses over from the Nahuelpan, like this one that we're looking at over with Wonder Woman on the Promethean cliffs after she sort of learned of her situation with Hera, and the way that, Diana is sort of kind of by herself, lamenting some of her decisions, is made all the more powerful through that sort of muted color palette and the gorgeous art over from Nahuelpan in the story. Plus, like even on these pages that have sort of less panels, there's still something interesting that Nahuelpan is delivering, with the art by showing such sort of strained facial expressions over for Diana in the issue. And I want to take a bit of a step back here and examine some of the plot over on Wonder Woman 797. Essentially, this issue does a great job kind of setting up the status quo over for Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods, as we sort of learned what the Revenge of the Gods means in the first place, as Diana is looking to kind of, exact her revenge over on Hera for, pulling a fast one over with her ascension. And sort of essentially, we spend a lot of time with Diana in this issue as she begins to pick up the pieces and even gets reintroduced to the character over from Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods in the second story, known now as the Mysterious Stranger. I really enjoyed the Stranger's kind of conversations with Diana, and I think that sense of mystery adds something so special to this issue. I love the fact that these characters are fighting gods who sort of have limitless powers, but the characters in the stories themselves are also sort of, super powered as well, with Wonder Woman's, above average strength that she uses whenever she's sort of caught in a sort of harrowing situation. Plus, the stranger gives her sort of, just the right sense of advice and just kind of the right advantage, she needs in order to carry on with her task of getting her revenge on goddesses like Hera in the issue. I really, really appreciate how densely this issue was plotted. The fact that the stranger even references Hippolyta, who we saw in previous issues of Wonder Woman and Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods, also has me really, really excited in this story. I can tell that writers Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad are working with writer G. Willow Wilson and DC's editorial to make sure that all of these plot beats are in exactly the right spot, which really led to my increased enjoyment over for Wonder Woman 797. This issue kind of introduces, so many harrowing moments and kind of dark fantasy concepts while entrenching it firmly within the DC universe. And plus, Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad have really focused on introducing so many different characters for the Amazons into the DC universe. And they've kind of made sure that that DC's creators have been using them extensively, and even kind of carry that example through over to this issue, as we see Diana teaming up with characters like Nubia in this series that really leads to some really kind of fascinating stories. And next up, I want to go ahead and talk about the second story over in this issue. This one is called A Champion's Heart, and it's written by Josie Campbell, illustrated by Caitlin Yarsky, colored by Jordie Bellaire, and lettered by Clayton Cowles. So I really enjoyed the second story because it was basically a continuation of the new Champion of Shazam series. I've always been a really big fan of what Josie Campbell has brought over to that title, and I really love that the title gives Mary Bromfeld the ability to kind of stand out as the Shazam character. And again, I was really impressed by how kind of DC has been tracking all of these plot threads over from series to series to series, as we sort of get Mary trying to find Billy when, the tables were turned and reversed in previous issues of the story. I love the fact that Josie Campbell just writes so much kind of like personality and intrigue over into Mary, especially as a new superhero over at the DC universe, and really think that there's some kind of fascinating story elements that are brought out by putting this character in some really intriguing situations and showing them sort of grow and adapt as the issues go on. Now, this particular chapter is able to kind of show Mary fight with some of the Amazons over in Themyscira in order to kind of fight back the forces that Hera and the rest of the gods are sending over to kind of the Amazon world. And it's just kind of sort of a thrill to watch her defend some of those forces next to these Amazon characters. And it's just so sort of like intriguing to get a plot thread that was started over in another title kind of continue throughout these DC comics. I really hope that going forward that not just, Billy will have a place to call home in his own Shazam title, but that Mary will also have, another, be it mini series or full series over at DC. I just think there's such a sort of unique tone in this series. I love the supporting cast and the fact that some of the Shazam characters are still in this series, like Hoppy the Bunny, who's always great to see over in these pages. And also, I really like the fact that these stories don't feel kind of dissimilar to each other and that they go on to sort of enforce each other, because a lot of the reasons why Mary is kind of fighting with the Amazons is because of some plot elements that were first captured over in the main story. So I'm very happy with Wonder Woman 797. I think this is a great issue of the series that expands on so many plot threads over from Lazarus Planet. I've really been enjoying how DC has been kind of, setting up one story over in Lazarus Planet Revenge of the Gods and then paying it off in Wonder Woman. I think the kind of plotting and editorial throughout Lazarus Planet and these Wonder Woman books has just been absolutely thrilling to read. Plus, being able to return to Mary Bromfeld over in the Shazam universe was also a thrill. I want to know from you, what were some of your thoughts over on Wonder Woman 797? Did you enjoy this issue as much as I did? And what do you want to go ahead and see me cover next? Well, thank you guys so much for coming to check out the video. We'll be back really soon with more excellent comic book content. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.